just chugging right along. Moving on to some more players here for the Ducks. Staying in the secondary, we have cornerbacks Deommoodore Lenoir and Thomas Graham, both from the Los Angeles area, coming out of high school. Graham played earlier than Lenoir did. Once they did get to Eugene, Lenoir opted out of Lenoir played in the 2020 season, whereas Graham opted out. They're looking like, maybe the last couple names here that we could see as, maybe some more realistic draft selections for Oregon. What can you tell me about Deommoodore Lenoir and Thomas Graham?
Well, I think they'll both get drafted, and I think they'll both have solid NFL careers. They're not the top line corners. They're kind of the second tier, probably third, fourth, maybe fifth round picks. Probably more like fourth round. I think they're both, first of all, when you say someone's a fourth round pick, you have to keep it in context. I mean, there's so many great players around the country. And you're at Oregon, and you're focusing in on those guys, and they're tremendous strengths, but there's a bunch of great players out there. So to even be considered in the draft conversation is a huge accomplishment. And so I would never want it to sound derogatory saying that they're mid-round picks, because it's not derogatory. They're great players and they will have great NFL careers, but they don't necessarily have all the top end traits that the J.C. Horns or the Patrick Surtains or the Sante Samuel Juniors or the Caleb Farleys have. And yet they're both very instinctive. They both play well in zone. They play well in man. They have good hands. They have decent speed, change of direction. They can play the ball well. And I think that there's a place for them in the NFL, and I think they'll play a long time. I think they're very similar. I think they both they'll probably get drafted very close to each other. And I'm not sure who will get drafted first. It all depends on, who's drafting and what they value in a player. But it's certain that they're going to have tremendous NFL careers. Recruited both of them out of high school, have always had a fondness for them, a great respect for them and their abilities and their work ethics. And, I just hope that they're not disappointed by where they're drafted, at what not the team, but what pick they are, and realize that it's a great honor. And now their career is up to them. And they'll go out and they'll do the best they can, and they'll have a great NFL career.
Sounds like they'll be getting their names called at some point, maybe just not as early as, some of those premier players like you were saying. One more thing I wanted to talk about with them, with Graham opting out and Lenoir choosing to play in 2020, did you maybe see on film, do you think he helped himself by coming back for another year, Lenoir that is, or, maybe it didn't make a huge difference?
Well, I think it shows a willingness to go compete and try to get better. But at the same time, I don't think opting out hurt Graham. I think there's enough tape there. So I think it's kind of a psychological aspect that NFL teams have to work through. They have to say, okay, Deommoodore, he came back, he competed, he put it out there, he tried to get better. Do we value that emotional aspect, or are we just looking purely at talent? And I think that teams are going to look a little bit more towards talent than that emotional part, but I do think there's a factor there. But once again, I don't think it's going to hurt a player to opt out in 2019. It was just such a strange year. And there were so many contributing factors to some of these guys opting out. Could Graham have come back and helped himself? Yeah, probably, but I don't think he hurt himself by opting out.
Okay, gotcha. And both those guys were in Eugene for their pro days. Both ran in the 4.4s, so certainly flash that DB NFL level speed that you want to see.